And welcome in once again to the Kim English Coaches Show. I'm Bill Rowland, and thanks for joining us out there on YouTube and also to all our fans here at the Capitol Ale House, just down the road from Eagle Bank Arena. I'm Bill Rowland. This is the head coach of your George Mason Patriots, Kim English. Coach, it's nice to see you again. There have been a couple weeks since we came out and did a coaches show. A lot has happened since that last coaches show. Down to the Virgin Islands, back home again. A nice win Saturday against Queens. Kind of wrap up what the last couple of weeks has been like for you and your program.
Yeah, it's been a lot. With 6 or 7 games in this thing and still building and learning. New guys, some injury troubles down in St. Thomas, and we got back to full strength for a few practices and did some good things on Saturday against a Queens team that we have a ton of respect for, even since they were Division II, and hope they do really well in the Atlantic Sun.
It's interesting because they're a team that was picked 13th out of 14 in the Atlantic Sun, and I look at that roster, I look at the talent they have, and unless the Atlantic Sun is a lot more loaded than I think they are, I don't know how that team finishes 13th in that league.
Yeah, I don't really read much in the preseason rankings. We talked about that previously, but I think they're a really good group, and they were missing a really good big man who's an incredible offensive rebounder. So, not having him, probably affected us early. They ended up putting a stretch big out there that shot it a little bit better than we thought. No, I think they'll do well in the ASUN.
Let's talk about that at the beginning of the game. Again, they came out and hit 5 of their first 6 from behind the arc. I think they ended up hitting 8 of their first 12 maybe to start the game. At one point, I know 24 of their first 29 points were from long range. You guys found yourselves down by 12 at that point. I imagine the conversation was, A, we got to get out on shooters, but B, this isn't going to last. We just have to stick with it.
Well, only 2 of the threes were, a game plan mistake from our guys. One of the threes from 5, one of the threes from number 3. The big kid stepping out and making the 3, it's he made them. You want to protect the paint. We don't want to extend ourselves a lot. And when he did make them, 1, 2, 3, 4, we made an adjustment and guarded them well the rest of the game. That obviously was not planned.
Kenny Dye was their leading scorer coming into the game. You guys did a phenomenal job on him, 0 for 10 from behind the arc. He ended up only hitting, I think, 4 of 15 or 16 for the entire game. He was averaging 17 points a game. He only up with 10. Talk about the team effort defending him in that ball game.
He's a really good player. I think to this point in the season, he may have been the most talented point guard we've faced. And the guys collectively did a really good job on him. And I don't think he played his best, but I'd like to think our guys had a little something to do with that.
Talk about the job that Ronnie Polite did in that ball game. He didn't start. He was coming off the injury, missed the last 2 games down at the St. Thomas tournament. But he comes in, plays the second most minutes of anybody, played 31 minutes, led the team in scoring, hit a couple of big shots down the stretch, had a big steal down the stretch as well. Talk about his game and how is he feeling after, again, missing 3 or 4 days and then going out and playing 31 minutes.
No, he had won our starting point guard spot, and I, going down to St. Thomas, I had really, after a year and some change, really settled in on, one, learning Ronald's game once he got healthy, and then I got to the point where I was really feeling comfortable with him. He won our starting point guard spot, and I was really excited to go down to the Virgin Islands. He tweaked his adductor in our second practice in St. Thomas. But I didn't think it affected him as much as it did in the Boston College game, and he wasn't right. He was a shell of himself. And, for a kid that's been through some injury, I know that's probably a little scary. You're like, oh, no, like, here we go again.
Yep.
And so we took the time to rehab and be smart, knowing that those type of tournaments, it's short rests and it's a lot of games. And so decided to let him rehab in the Virgin Islands. And in turn, it got Devin a lot of valuable minutes at the 1, which I think is going to serve us well as the season continues on. But it was really good to see Ronald got back onto the practice court when we got back. We stayed in the half court for a few practices just to keep nursing him back to full health. Didn't want to start him. And I thought he was phenomenal. He's You know, he has a coach's mind. He has great vision for the game. He's tough. And his shot is continuing to improve.
And it was interesting because down there at the Virgin Islands, you know, Devin in his first start, a little shaky, but start number 2, he's pretty good. 15 points, hit 3 threes in the ballgame. He looked like he was getting more comfortable.
Yeah, he got us off to a great start in game 2. We got off to, I think, 8-0 or 12-10-0 start,
yeah.
And we had 2 bunnies at the rim we missed. He got off to a really good start. It was, you know, I think he was 1 for 7 maybe, made a nice floater. He missed some good looks. Again, it's about shot quality. If our good best players are shooting shots that we value, we feel good about it. He's been taking care of the ball. You know, the Buffalo game, you know, they took advantage of him, you know, on the inside, which is something that small guards have to learn how to navigate, how they can, you know, for lack of a better term, bite the other guy. You know, the little guys have to find a way to, you know, stake their claim and have an impact on the court. He's doing that, picking up 94 feet, pushing the ball and transition, knocking down threes when he gets it, continuing to extend his range. I like where we are.
Going back to the Queens game, I think there are probably a lot of those armchair coaches late in the game when Coop took that 3 from the wing with about 30 seconds to go. You guys could have run more clock. I think a lot of people were thinking, no, 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 and then it goes in. You're like, what a great shot that he made.
Yeah.
That was a product of they trap the inbound right off the first pass. You rotate out, you rotate to the far side. I mean, he's wide open. He had all day to set up, so it's a good shot for him.
It was tough. You know, we had a play call. We called timeout, I think. We had a play call out of that timeout. But our guys know if we're receiving pressure, you got to play. So, yeah, I think he could have ironed off maybe 19 more seconds on the clock. But it was a 2-possession game already. If he misses it, we have to go down and get a stop, and they have to foul anyway. And if he makes it, it goes from 2 possessions to 3 possessions, and it's over.
Right.
So, in that shot, Coop, VJ, you know, Ticket, we're good with those guys taking that shot. You better make it.
As a shooter yourself from college, I'm always amazed in watching Cooper. I can't remember a guy in my time here at Mason that makes that corner bad angle 3 as often as he does. He had a few of them down the Virgin Islands that he was behind the backboard when he let go. How tough is that corner shot to make? I know it's a shorter shot, but the angles that he makes it from are amazing sometimes.
Well, the corner shot is the closest 3 you can shoot in our game. Now, if you're behind the backboard, that does add a degree of difficulty. It's not the plan, for sure. But I think the game does take him there sometimes. Yeah, he's shooting a high clip, and I hope you didn't just jinx him.
I hope not as well. You got 3 more games coming up here at home before the exam break. I'm not going to get into all of them. Toledo coming up on Saturday and University of Maryland Eastern Shore. But the next game coming up, Hofstra on Wednesday night. Another outstanding guard coming into Eagle Bank Arena. I mean, it just seems like every time you're prepping for somebody, there's another one of these spectacular guards that can get to the rim, can shoot the 3, basically score at all 3 levels.
Yeah, this is a really good stretch. You know, these next 6 games or so heading into A-10 play. Every one of them presents a different challenge. Obviously, you start with Hofstra, a former CAA rival, and I mean, you know, arguably one of the best teams in the CAA around that time when Mason was back in the league, with Mason and ODU and VCU. But Speedy Clax has done a great job there. They went on the road and won at Arkansas last season, an Elite 8 team. They've already had 2 road wins on the season. They have a neutral win. You know, we're going to be their 4th true road game. They went and played at St. Mary's, and the kid Estrada is spectacular. He's, again, he is the best guard we've played this season now. You know, lefty, can score from all 3 levels, transfer from Oregon, like VJ. They weren't teammates though, but not just him. They have his backcourt mate Thomas. They're outliers in college basketball. You know, the mid-range shot is dying. It's not an efficient shot. They hit it at a 65% clip. They're making mid-range jump shots better than they're making layups. You know, they are a very talented offensive team.
And you talk about that mid-range thing and the way that college basketball, just basketball in general, has changed from it's either at the rim or outside the arc. It's kind of a lost art to be able to hit those shots. As a coach, as a player, do you kind of wish it wasn't going that way? I mean, it's because it's so numbers driven.
It is. It's a little bit of feel and it's a little bit of numbers. I mean, if last season Josh Oduro was 71% at the rim and he was 29% from three, why would you shoot a 2-point shot that's valued at 31% for you? Just go get the 71%.
Right.
Even the 29% three is a better shot than the 31% mid-long two if you value it at a points per possession rate. So as a team, we just want to get the highest value shots we can. And it's at the free throw line. Well, it should be at the free throw line, a layup, and an open three from a good shooter. Now it's times in the game where that 31% shot is better than 29% if it's the last shot of the game. So, it just understanding the numbers. And when you shoot shots at the rim, when you shoot shots from three and you get fouled, well, not fouled, but you give yourself the best chance of winning. I've talked about this on here before. The two most important stats in our game when it relates to winning is the effective field goal game and the turnover game.
Right.
If you have the higher effective field goal percentage, if you win the turnover game, you win like 95% of your games in college basketball. So, how do you win the effective field goal game? It's by taking the best shots and trying to force them into taking the worst shots.
You talked about the free throw shooting, and Josh has struggled a little bit here at the beginning of the year. He's the guy who shot 70% from the free throw line last season. He's a good free throw shooter. Other guys are good free throw shooters. I know you don't want to harp on it in practice because you don't want to get in these guys' heads about it, but at some point, do you look at it and say, okay, what is it that we're doing? Or is this just 7 games, small sample size? If this is in the middle of the season, nobody would even pay attention.
I'm hoping. I believe it will average out. I do believe in our free throw shooters, all of them. We work on it every day in practice. We work on it every day as an individual. We chart the numbers. Guys are making hundreds of free throws a day outside of practice as a team. It's personal. It's personal. I mean, as a coach, when we were at Colorado, Nate, I was at Tennessee. Nate's last year at Colorado, they almost broke the NCAA record for free throw percentage. I think they were like 82 or 81%. They were just about to, and they were getting emails and notes from high school coaches all over the country. What do you do for your free throws? What do you do for... The truth is they did nothing for their free throws. And ironically, they actually ended the season missing like 15 straight free throws to lose in the Pac-12. They missed 15 straight free throws in the Pac-12 tournament championship to lose to Oregon State, the team that ended up beating us in the first round of the NCAA tournament at Tennessee. So and they ended up not breaking the record, but they did nothing to work on their free throws. They practiced them. They shot them outside of practice. It's an individual thing as a player. Free throws and ball security, at the end of the day, it's on you. And I very, very rarely say that as a coach. I take responsibility, for everything. But I am a coach player, and I know, my coach had nothing to do with my misses at the free throw line, and had nothing to do with my makes.
Some coaches, whether it's all the way down, Pee Wee League, high school, college, even in the pros, will want to shoot free throws. They'll have guys high intensity, sprints, full court, whatever, then stop and shoot free throws. Is there a particular philosophy that you have, or just it's, again, individual guys got to be able to shoot their free throws?
No, it's a little bit of both. Obviously you get it. Obviously, if it's outside of practice, it's on your own. It's reps. Sometimes in practice, you add a conditioning element to it. Right? Bill Rowland, step up. You got a 1-and-1. Everybody else on the baseline. You miss the first one, everyone has a 22. You come back, you get another chance. You make the first, you miss the second one, everyone has an 11. So you're getting that conditioning element. You're getting the pressure of your team. We have a free throw shooting game we play after most practices, and we'll go up to 100, 150, 200. We line up all the guys, green team, white team, at each basket, and each guy has 2 shots. If you make it, George Mason gets 1 point. If you miss it, the opposing team gets 3. And we're going around, and that game goes on, and you want to win. You want to get to 100 before they do. And if we lose, we'll bump it up. The away team gets 4 points for a miss. So there's a lot of free throw games we play. We try to have a seriousness when we're doing those games, and But I'm not stressing over free throws. I'd love for us to make them, yeah.
Is that the feeling that if you, even saying it here or in practice or in the locker room, that you start stressing over it, that trickles down to them, and then they start stressing over it, and then it just feeds into itself?
It's a great, I can't remember the coach at Gonzaga before Mark Few, Fitz, can't think of his name, no, before Dan Munson. Fitz something was his name, and his team was really struggling at the free throw line. And his assistant coaches were in their little coaches powwow, and he was like a crazed coach.
Right.
And his assistant coach, he's like, man, these guys just can't make a free throw. And the coach is like, Coach, I know, man, they'll make it. Like, calm down, don't worry about it. And he says, okay, all right. And he goes over and he puts his chair up in front of the players. And he looks at the guys and he says, you're a bunch of choke artists. So he added to the pressure in that moment. I'm not going to do that.
Right.
I believe in our guys. And it's starting, Saquon made one last game. Josh made huge ones for us late last season. I said to our staff the other day, I've never seen VJ Bailey miss a free throw ever. And he missed a couple this season. So we'll be fine.
Speaking of Victor Bailey, he'll be joining us here in a few minutes, so it'll be good to have him on. I want to throw some numbers at you. I want to see if you recognize any of them. 1,570 career points, 430 career rebounds, 204 assists, 239 made threes. Does that ring a bell at all?
It sounds like me in college.
That is you in college.
Yeah.
The reason I bring it up, and I didn't bring it up the first time around, we have to congratulate you. Those numbers are getting you into the Missouri Hall of Fame.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and probably the most important one are the wins. The wins and a few championships and 4 NCAA tournaments. But no, it's an incredible honor. I was really surprised to get the phone call from the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame, and really honored.
Well, where were you when you got that call? What were you coming for practice? Were you
I
with
was
the kids,
on my
or?
couch watching film, and just picked up the call from Springfield, Missouri, and it was really cool. It was humbling.
What does that mean to you after going through the 4 years at Missouri, putting up these type of numbers? Because again, incredible numbers, and you talk about the wins, and you guys were a top 5 team and all those things, but I know that you're always a guy that wants to talk about your teammates, and you couldn't have done it without them. But from where you started as a young kid in Baltimore, growing up loving this game, to then going through Missouri for 4 years and getting to the NBA, and I know you're a humble guy, this has to be pretty cool.
It is, and I really haven't. I was talking this the other day. When you're in a season as a basketball coach, it's sad, but like nothing else matters except for the wins and the losses. So I haven't even thought about it, right? Thanksgiving was we were in the middle of a 3-game losing streak. Thanksgiving wasn't great, or New Year's isn't New Year's, right? New Year's is the first day of practice. Holidays aren't holidays, and when you're in season, you're so locked into what's happening. But the thing that I'm most proud of about my college career was, the pride we took in the jerseys that we wore, and, the rate in which we won. And it's what we are really trying to impart on our guys now, is to make sure you own that jersey, especially in this age of transfers. I don't want any transfers just renting this jersey, because there are countless players like Isaiah Tate, like George Evans, like Eric Herring, like Lamar Butler, Fowler Campbell, Tony Skinn, that wore that jersey and it meant something. So trying to create that feeling of pride and ownership in our guys is, that's what I think about when I think about the Missouri Hall of Fame, is how much it meant to us to play for University of Missouri.
When you got to Missouri, and I'm imagining you're going to tell me no, which I would completely expect. At any point, did it ever cross your mind of, I'd love to have my jersey honored at this school? Like when you walked in the door as a freshman, when you're like 4 years from now,
Yeah.
when I get out of here, they're going to want to put my jersey up in the rafters.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen. Those numbers aren't that good. Those numbers aren't good enough for that at all.
I mean, Hall of Fame, though. I mean,
Yeah, but
know.
no, that's we need to get that going at Mason. You know?
I agree with you 100%.
We need a George Mason Hall of Fame.
Been ringing that bell for 20
Seriously,
years, Coach.
It's such a great history in athletics here. From Nina Rogers to all the players I named earlier and track and field athletes, and I think it needs to happen. I think it needs to happen.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. All right, we will get our guest, Victor Bailey Jr., lined up to join us. And while we do that, we want to thank the Capitol Ale House, the official host site for the Mason Basketball Coaches Show with head coach Kim English. Only a mile and a half from Eagle Bank Arena, Capitol Ale House has local Virginia-inspired dishes and the largest selection of Virginia-brewed craft beer available. We'll be right back with Victor Bailey Jr. in just one moment. There you go, Victor Bailey Jr. joining us here on the Kim English Coaches Show from the Capitol House. Victor, first off, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Now, you heard all the numbers I just rattled off for your coach. I'm sure you know about his illustrious career. You had some pretty good numbers back in your high school days as well. 2,429 career points. Also, as a guard, won the 2017 dunk contest as a high school senior. So you put up some pretty good numbers. Talk about what your high school career was like, and we'll talk about your parents being in different sports. Why basketball over maybe some of the other things?
I really enjoyed high school. I had a great coach, Coach Hageman. He let me play. He put me in position to be successful. He allowed me to shoot the ball and just be myself, a lot like Coach Kim. That's why I was so happy to be here and so excited to come play for him. It was just a fun experience, being in high school. Young, don't really know what's going on too much, just putting the ball up there and happy that it was going in. But, with my parents being in two different sports, track and football, I did all the sports when I was younger. I just fell in love with basketball, and that was all I wanted to do.
Your mom won the bronze medal at the '96 Olympic Games in Atlanta for the 400-meter hurdles, which is, again, impressive. Your dad, 3-year career in the NFL. Who do you think was a better athlete?
I get that question a lot, and I try not to answer because I don't want to be, both of them are very competitive, and that'll start a Christmas fight, and I don't want that. So, but no, they, both, obviously great athletes, and coming from them, excited to see all the things that they've been able to do, and learning from them, and they've helped me through my process throughout the way, and always give me feedback, are always very critical, which a lot of things that I need, and I love them. So
was there ever at any point, and I imagine some parents do this and others don't, but was there any of your dad saying, hey, you should play, I played in the NFL, you should play football? Your mom saying, no, I was a track star, you should be a track athlete. Did they allow you to figure out, you said you fell in love with basketball, did they allow you to do that, or did you ever feel when you were a kid, Dad's trying to get me to play football, Mom's trying to get me to run track?
Yeah, no, not at all. I think my dad knew a lot of things that come with football. And honestly, if anything, I think he kind of wanted me to stay away from it a little bit. And I think he was happy that I kind of fell into basketball, a lot of things that go on with football physically. I see him, kind of hopping around the house sometimes. And so I think he's excited that, I went the other way. And Mom, she, obviously she, I think she's a great track coach, and Would have loved for me to run track, but she's just happy to see I'm doing something that I love, and I just kind of gravitated to it and hope to be able to do it for a long time.
As a hurdler, did she help you with your vertical leap? Because I've seen we've run a couple of lob plays to you this year, and again, you won the dunk contest back in 2017. Was there any type of track training that she did with you as far as, or is that just natural?
Yeah, no training, just genetics.
Just genetics, there you go. This guy's talking about when you were recruited, he was at Tulsa, and that was the first time he met you. Do you remember the first conversation you had with Coach English back then?
I don't remember the first conversation. I just remember knowing that he was really good at what he does, and I felt an immediate connection with him just on a basketball level. I felt like he had a love for the game, and I could just hear it in his voice the way he talked about basketball, and I knew that was somebody that I wanted to be around.
Coach, do you remember the first time you saw him in a gym?
Yep, I do. The first time I seen him live would have been in New York City at the EYBL stop they had in like a factory warehouse in Brooklyn, New York. It was a great, DeAndre Ayton, Trae Young, Michael Porter. It was a great EYBL crop that year. But he played with RM5. One of my good friends was there, was one of their coaches. And we were all in on him right away. He was our top target.
Growing up in Texas, right, playing high school basketball down there, how do you end up then going to Oregon? That just doesn't seem like a likely spot for a kid, but what was it about them that you want to start your college career there?
Yeah, just the idea and the plan that was set out by Dana Altman and the talks that we went through. I really, really wanted to go to Tulsa, but my parents looked me in my eyes and said, hey, we know you love Coach Kim. We know you really want to go to Tulsa, but he's such a great coach. He probably won't be there long. And I looked up, and he was at Colorado, so that's just kind of how it worked out.
You talked about coaching against you. When you were there at Oregon, you always kept in touch whenever you guys were playing, whether it was in Colorado or in Oregon, always made sure to say hi to Coach?
Yeah, I remember a certain play I had. I got a steal or something, and I had a dunk, and I kind of looked over at me. He was smirking at me. We always stayed in touch throughout. I remember texting him. Wasn't shooting the ball well while I was at Oregon at one period. And I texted him, hey, Coach, what can I do? And, he was giving me tips and talking about how I can, get my shot back right. So he's always been in my process throughout the entire time.
And then you guys reunite at Tennessee. Well, I guess not reunite, but unite for the first time at Tennessee. Talk about the experience of going into the portal, deciding to leave Oregon, and then ending up in Tennessee.
Yeah, it's kind of like I said, it all comes back around for a circle. But knowing that I wanted to leave and, it was kind of just trying to figure out what we wanted to do. And, we just found out where Coach was going. He was going to Tennessee. And I was like, well, wherever Coach is going, I'd like to know if I can go there too. So it just worked out perfectly. We made a phone call, and we talked about it. And I was wearing a Tennessee jersey.
He could have won a national championship, right? He could have went to Baylor. He could have won a national championship, and he followed us to Tennessee. So it was, Texas, Baylor, Texas Tech, and us. And I think Coach Barnes liked sticking it to Texas a little bit too, because he could have went obviously back home to Texas. But, it was a great get, for me walking into the door with a player of his caliber, 7 point per game, 40 point, a 3-point shooter from the Pac-12, walked in at the same time with him. So it was a great get for us. And, to get the scholarship, Jordan Bone had to, make sure he was going through the NBA process, and he did. Freed up the ship, and it was a long list of names we were looking at. But maybe my first meeting as a Vol assistant, I brought up VJ, and we went all in on him.
Did you feel any pressure to go back home and play either Texas, Baylor, or wherever, or was it you were dead set on if you could follow Coach English, you were going to do that?
Yeah, like I said, from the first conversation we had, I knew he was somebody that I wanted to be around, and I thought it was an amazing opportunity to go and be in a program with him. So I kind of had my mind set, but like we said, Bone still had to decide what he was going to do. So I had to also keep my stuff open and be available in case he stayed. But once he declared, I was good to go.
Then you had the opportunity to come here for Mason for your grad year. What was that process like? Obviously, Coach English plays a big part in that, but you still have to like the university, like the guys that are here on the team. Talk to me about that process that you went through this past year.
Yeah, well, I knew obviously with Coach Kim, was the biggest factor. But when I got here and I was able to talk with the other assistant coaches and really see how good they were. You know, Felton defensively, and Nate, and all the coaches we have. They, it's not just him. You know, we got a great staff, and then also Ticket being here was just a familiar face that I'd seen before, I'd known, and I was excited to be around him, him as well, and then I just bonded with the guys, really easy. Obviously, I've been around different places, so I know how to, I don't want to say fit in, but I know how to just, get acclimated and talk with guys. But it was just so easy being around these guys, and they made it easy. The coaching staff made it easy, and it just wasn't a hard choice.
Have you found it easy to find your voice as, again, a guy who's played 4 years of college basketball already? You guys had a little bit of a struggle down at the Paradise Jam, but you've got leaders like yourself and Ticket and Josh that have been around college basketball. Do you find it easy, even though this is your first year, to grab some of the younger guys or even older guys and just say, hey, just a rough patch, we're fine, let's get it together? Is that something that you found simple to do?
I think it makes it easy that it's a group effort. It's not just me. We have a lot of older guys, and that makes it easier for us to just communicate to each other in that fashion. Because guys like Coop, like I said, Ticket, those guys. It's just really easy to communicate with them and talk to them because they've been through it before. You've been through it. Josh, obviously him being here, and Ron. Obviously Ron's doing a great job. Ron's very vocal, and the young guys are good as well, and they listen, and we understand, that the coaches, what they're saying is important, and we need to listen to it in order to be successful, and as long as we do that, we're giving ourselves the best, chance to win. So it's not hard communicating when everybody's going for one goal.
All right, let's get to some easier questions now. You get a day off completely. You don't have to worry about practice. There's no school. There's no anything. A whole day off. Anything that you want to do. Are you headed out to the beach? Are you going up into the mountains? Are you just hanging out with the guys? What would be your ultimate day off with nothing? You have no responsibility at all. What are you doing?
Well, honestly, we've had a few of those days, in the summer where we have a day off, and it's. Usually we'll sit down. I know now, if we're not doing school, me and my roommates will sit around in the living room and just watch basketball games. We couldn't do that in the summer. We tried to catch some summer league games, but if we could just sit around and talk and chat it up and watch games, specifically basketball, because that's what what we all love. That's great. And then I kind of fell in love with golf recently. Not good at all, but I got out there and I started playing. My dad has played for a long time. He dragged me out there when I was young, and when you're young, you don't really listen and don't know what's going on. But now that I'm older, I've kind of fallen in love with it a little bit. So it's a cool hobby, and I know Coach Kim is really good at it. So I try and pick his brain a little bit. So
who got you back into playing again?
Honestly, myself.
Okay.
Just kind of like you said, had nothing to do, had already worked out, had already hung with the guys a little bit, and I was like, you know what, I was talking to IJ, one of our guys, and he said there's a par 3 right up the street, and you can go check it out, and I went, and I started going a lot after that.
Do you think that you, of the players, might be the best golfer on the team, or is there somebody else that plays?
I think Chase might play, but other than that, I'm not sure if anybody plays. That don't mean anything. If you can swing that club, you can swing it.
You can swing it, right. Coach, probably the best of the coaching staff, I'm guessing. I know Nate doesn't play.
No, Matt Palumbo, our grad assistant's the best. IJ and I are right there next.
Dwayne's not bad. I've played with Coach Sims. He's okay.
He's not that.
He's not horrible, but he's just not on your level yet. I understand. You guys, I know, and I may be dating myself, I know years ago it was guys bringing the video games along with them on road trips. Video games still a thing for you guys?
Yeah. I mean, we've played, we've sat there and played video games together. I'm not a big video game guy.
What's the game of choice that everybody's playing?
Madden, 2K, Call of Duty, all the games. I'm not a big video game guy, but to be around my teammates, I'll just sit there and watch and watch them do it. So
who's probably the best of the guys that are into the gaming?
That is a big debate in the locker room. And
always is.
I don't know, honestly. I think they have their own, each guy will claim a game that they're the best at, and, I'll let them run with that.
So if you're not a video game guy, you're just getting into golf, what outside, if you didn't play basketball, is there another sport, like a hidden talent that we don't know about that Victor Bailey would excel at in your mind? Would you have been a great football player? Would you have been a great baseball player? Track star? What talent do you have that we don't know about? And it may not even be sports, maybe something completely
Yeah,
different.
no, I think baseball was my first. Baseball was my first kind of big sport. I pitched, and I was center field. I did first base a little bit. We went to
All at the same time.
yeah.
It's like Bugs
Athletic
Bunny.
he is.
No, we went to Little League World Series and everything. I was on a travel team called Tribe. That was when I was in Champaign-Urbana. So baseball was actually really big early on in my life, but I just basketball just took over.
What do you remember? Why basketball? Was there a single moment, single game, coach, team, whatever it was? Do you remember when you were like, yes, this is the game for me?
I just remember always being engaged with basketball, whether it was on the court, off the court. I just remember, sometimes in baseball I just wouldn't be as engaged. Football, when you get the crap knocked out of you, sometimes you're not always engaged as much. But no, basketball, I just all the time. I was in love with it all the time, and it just got to the point where that was just all I wanted to do. I didn't want to do anything else, so it just wasn't a hard decision to drop everything else I know. Every single time I saw the football coach in the halls at high school, he asked me to come out and play football, but literally every single time I saw him in the hallway. But basketball was it. Basketball's it.
You talked about it, the great relationship you have with Coach English. When your playing career is over, whenever that may be, Europe, wherever you end up, is there a thought that you would want to get into coaching, or what is it that you think that you may want to do obviously basketball isn't necessarily forever as a playing career, but what's next for you after that?
Yeah, I'm actually working on getting my coaching certificate right now with Mason. So, as a graduate student, so I'm thankful for Mason for allowing me to be able to do that. But I don't know. I love basketball. It's what I do. It's what I know. It's what I've been doing, obviously, most of my life. And I don't know what the future holds. If that's what it is, then that's great. But, I don't know yet.
What do you think? Would he make a good coach? What do you think?
I think he'd be great. I think he'd be great in recruiting. I think he'd be great on the court, and I think he'd be a really good teacher. So I think he'd be a great coach.
His voice, again, coming in as a guy who this is his first season in here. Have you noticed that he's blended well and will take a leadership role?
Absolutely. I want more. I want it more. I get it. Sometimes with new guys, they want to, not ruffle any feathers. This is, Josh's program. This is Ronald's program. This is Malik. These guys have been here. Ticket been here a year longer than him. But, we really take a lot of time in deciding who we're going to, bring into this family, this group, this tribe of people. And I want Giannis to be more vocal. They both. He's an SEC champion. Giannis is an ACC champion. Giannis is an ACC champion last year, an NCAA tournament team that lost, I think, like 6 out of 8 they did. What was it like on that team during that stretch? What I love about, us when we do encounter hardship is we get closer together. We get more detailed in diving into how we're going to get better. We never, ever lose our team. And it's important. So I want these guys to do more and speak up more, be more vocal. I don't mind confrontation. I don't mind disagreement. I think that's where the best, comes from.
In your time here at Mason, have you had the opportunity? I know as a team you guys have gone downtown for a few things, but is there one particular spot that you've gone down to D.C.? I don't know if you've been here before for doing the tourist thing or not, but is there a particular place downtown that you've really kind of gravitated toward and was like, hey, that was pretty cool to go see?
I went and saw the White House, and I've only seen it on movies, so seeing it in person was pretty cool. Didn't realize how big it was. When you see it on TV, you just don't,
Just another house,
right? But seeing the barriers and, you gotta, if you want to get in, you gotta jump one fence and then jump another fence, and I look up and there's 2 snipers above them. I'm like, yo, this is
Coach, are you wondering about the decision making here?
Well,
checking out all
I'm
the
just
fences
looking, you
and
know.
sniping.
I have driven past and walked past that house a bunch of times, and I've never once even thought about jumping the fence. So that's a very touristy answer.
It
All the
actually
things
is.
in D.C., the White House.
Yeah,
All right.
it's very true.
Yeah.
So the White House was on kind of your list? And
Yeah,
you-
it was
again,
just-
It
yeah.
is surprising. I've lived here all my life, and when you have people that come in town, and you take them down there, that's usually one of the first things they say is, I didn't realize it was so big. And you're like, well, I mean, it's the White House. Of course it's big, right? I mean,
Yeah, you just only on movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, only on movies.
when you get done at Mason and you look back at the basketball journey that you've had, Coach played all 4 years in Missouri. You've kind of jumped around a little bit. Do you think that your experience is going forward the typical experience that a lot of guys are going to have now with the way the portal is? And how do you feel about being able to transfer freely without having to sit the year?
He actually sat 1 year.
Oh, that's right. You did. That's
Yeah, I
right.
sat.
That's right. That's right.
I think, you know, if you can stay at one place, that's great. I think with my experience, I've had the opportunity to learn. I've had the opportunity to grow, not just as a basketball player, but as a young man. And I think that's probably the biggest thing I'll take. You know, basketball, like I said, is number one for me, next to family and the good Lord. So when basketball is not going well, you know, as a young kid, it can be difficult. So learning how to deal with that and overcome that, and now be in a spot where I feel comfortable, and just growing as a young man has been big for me. So I think if you're going to take anything from it, if you're going to bounce schools, I think it, you know, outside of basketball, if you learn something personally about yourself and grow as an individual, I think that's, you know, a big takeaway that you can take away, you know, for the rest of your life. So
I think if you're a great player at George Mason, you stay all 4 years. And if you're a great player somewhere else and you want to come to George Mason, you should transfer.
It makes perfect sense to me. Absolutely. Last thing for you, and again, Victor, we appreciate you coming by here for the Coaches Show. Is there a phrase, a word, a sentence in practice that Coach English or one of the other coaches says that you know, oh boy, we're in trouble. We've done it now. Is there any particular thing that you know when you hear it, oh boy, it's over with?
I wouldn't say in trouble.
Is there a look?
We use, I'll kind of see them, you know, kind of making faces like that. And I'm like, all right, hey, hey, guys, just get it together. Just get it together before we go online. But we use the word mindset a lot. You know, when things aren't going our way, turnovers, bad calls, just things that happen through the course of the game. We always revert back to mindset, and that's just being locked into the moment. They say, you know, obviously a lot of things happen. Like I said, turnovers, you know, charges, you don't get calls to block, whatever. You know, coach will say mindset, players will say mindset, and it just locks you back into the moment. So what, now what? So, you know, I think that's the word that we hear, you know, throughout the day, every day.
Let me ask you one more as a bonus question. We were talking, I know you were here for it, about the free throws. Mm-hmm. Do you guys talk about it at all amongst yourselves, the players?
Yeah, I think, you know, free throws are obviously, you know, very important in the game of basketball. And, you know, I heard Coach talking about it. I think it's mental and it's a personal thing. We work on it. I think, you know, when it comes to free throws, all you can do is put yourself in the best position to be successful, and we do that every day. You know, guys get up hundreds of free throws. You know, in the course of, I don't even know, 2 weeks, we've gotten up, you know, so many free throws, and, you know, from day to day. And I think guys are getting better. I think it's a mindset thing. I think it's, you know, it's mental, but I think it will improve. You know, I hope it will improve, and I have faith when guys go up to the line that they're going to start making shots. So.
Perfect. Victor, again, thank you for coming out. We appreciate it. Answered all the questions. Did a fantastic job. We will get you out of here. We'll finish up with some fan questions here. But first, we want to thank the Capitol Ale House, the official host site for the Mason Basketball Coaches Show with head coach Kim English. Only a mile and a half from Eagle Bank Arena, Capitol Ale House has local Virginia-inspired dishes and the largest selection of Virginia-brewed craft beer available. All right, Coach. We'll get to some of these here real quick. This is for you. Your favorite, we just had the holiday, your favorite Thanksgiving food. And actually, Victor's going to hang out. He can answer it as well.
My favorite Thanksgiving food is probably ham and sweet potato casserole.
Victor?
I would probably say mac and cheese and sweet potato casserole, sweet potato pie.
You guys are both on the
Yeah,
sweet potatoes.
Yeah, you can't go wrong.
All right. This is for Victor. Your favorite color?
I don't really have a favorite color, but I'm really liking this green right now. So.
It's a good answer. Money and Mason, so it works out bothly, all right? And lastly, here you go. Paulina asks, how are you preparing for conference play this year, and who maybe are some of the teams to watch? I know it's a little early for conference play.
I mean, we watch 8-10 games and root for them. I was, texting with the St. Louis coaches last night, a few days ago, and last night after their tough game against Auburn. No, we have a tough 6-game stretch right now. That is the focus. We talked about getting into coaching. What you realize when you coach college guys, the most important thing to, control and think about it, he said it is the mindset. It's the mindset going into every single game. I mean, thinking ahead 1-2 games would be an epic mistake. Everything is mindset at this level because these kids are so emotional.
Right.
We're sitting here a few weeks ago, and I'm watching this Boston College Maine game,
right.
and I'm praying on every whim and rosary that I have that Boston College wins that game because I know the mindset after a loss.
Right.
So I can try our best to shake our guys to know what our mindset needs to be to combat that mindset, and their mindset won that night. And it's an evolving battle. It's an evolving fight against human nature. When you win, a lot of times human nature, once you have some success, human nature tells you to let your guard down a little bit, get comfortable, feel happy. When you lose, you're more vigorous, you're locked in, you're more hungry to win. So we talked about it today. Did today's film session, did today's practice. I hope it felt like a practice after a loss. And that's what you want to keep focusing on. And it's the main thing. So to answer your question, we're not looking forward to any teams in the Atlantic 10. We're focused on this 1-game stretch against Hofstra and then 1 game against Toledo, Eastern Shore, Tulane, Old Dominion, Coppin State. And then we'll prepare for Richmond.
Right, Richmond on December 31st, New Year's Eve day. So it's a great place to end it there, Coach. And again, thank you for coming out, Victor. Thanks to Coach English, everybody here at the Capitol Ale House. If you do want to come out, we want to remind you that tickets are on sale for this week's game against Hofstra on Wednesday night and Toledo on Saturday. All ticket offerings are available, including our 3-game Pint Glass Series mini plan. For more information on all that, call the ticket office at 703-993-3270. We hope to see you out Wednesday night as the Patriots will take on Hofstra. Look to get to 4-0 at home. I know it's a big deal for both of you guys.
We need Mason to understand how big of a home stand this is right now. Like, these are 2 A-10 level games as far as opponents go. So we need to have our crowd be at its best on Wednesday and against Toledo.
Get all the fans out, get the students out. Again, thanks to these 2 guys for hanging out, and thanks for you out there watching on YouTube. We appreciate it. We will see you very soon. Once again, I'm Bill Rowland. This has been the Kim English Coaches Show for Mason Men's Basketball.